Black History Month is the time to honor the achievements of African Americans in the United States. Today, Black Heritage Society and Martin Luther King Parade Foundation presents the Unsung Heroes of the Greater Houston area. We are honored to have here Mr. Robert Brown. Was born in New Mexico but grew up in Galveston, Lamar, Texas. An athlete throughout his high school and college, he lettered in football, track, and basketball, ninth and 12th grades at Lincoln High School. He graduated from TSU in 1963 and began his career as teacher and coach in the Houston Independent School District. Mr. Brown coached from 1963 to 2002. We're glad to have you here, Mr. Brown. Can you share with us some of the contributions you made into the community throughout your career?
I've enjoyed those 40 years here in Houston. The contributions that we made deal mostly with athletes. And those athletes, 90% of them went on to be productive in Houston. We have a lawyer. We have a fire chief in Dallas. He was the head fireman at Dallas Fort Worth Airport. He has retired. The lawyer was an extremely good athlete. All of the guys that we have produced have done a good job. I left MC Williams in 72 and went to Jeff Davis. Didn't have to worry about putting kids in that classroom. Those kids went to class and had an extremely good athlete, good program. In 81, we went to Sterling, and I knew we were going to have some good athletes because they had big feet. Look, if you have a guy with big feet, he's going to be big, okay? so we had a good football team and a super track team. I was the assistant track coach at Sterling at that time. And in 95, we left there and went to Lee. And from Lee, Lee had a good program. And we did very well at Lee. We won the district there.
Wow.
And from Lee, I retired in 02, January of 02. But I still couldn't get sports out of my system. So someone called me and said, would you like to work with the basketball team? So I worked with the basketball team at a small Catholic school. Then 2 years later, I was asked to take the ninth grade team at St. Thomas High School. And you can see the progression and the skills as they move from one grade to another. And that was really some of the things that I really enjoyed, watching them improve over the time. After I left St. Thomas, we went 19-2 that year. So I had 1 year at St. Thomas. We won the district, and that's all the further that the ninth graders would go. I did a little work with the AAU, and I enjoyed that. And by that time, I was being inducted into the Prairie Interscholastic League Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And
PVU.
say it again. And most people don't realize that Prairie was the hub for all of the blacks during segregation. University of Texas was the hub for all the whites during segregation. So on one hand, you had segregation here, but they weren't equal. That was from 1920 up to 1970. Being in the state of Texas, some of the whites really fought integration. So instead of having integration, you might have an all-black class at this white school. And they said it was integrated, but it wasn't. Then, as the kids came from their black school going to the white school, they destroyed, quote unquote, they were torn down, the black schools, especially in the small areas or rural areas. They just wiped them out. Took all of the history, all of the trophies, and everything, and just completely destroyed it. There was a young lady in Austin. She went to the trash pile and collected over 300 pieces of memorabilia, including newspaper clippings, trophies, and jackets that were destroyed, were supposed to be destroyed by putting in there. And that same thing happened in other little towns that people knew that that was part of our history. So they tried to save it. Along with some of the good things that happened, Willis, Montgomery, and Conroe, the black schools there, were given rings for winning their state championship 50 years later.
That was remarkable. I'm glad to hear about those accomplishments. Can you share with us some of the challenges that you had throughout your career?
Life is hardship, but you manage to take those good things and keep moving. I asked the little guy, I said, hey, I ran a 9.7 in high school, and that was slow. Everybody else was running 9.5s, 9.4s. I said, why do you run so fast? He said, I don't let my left foot catch up with my right foot. Oh, we had a good time, I mean to tell you. But hey, I've learned one thing. You always look on the bright side of life. Hey, the dark side will be there. But if you look on the bright side and count your blessings, instead of counting the things that have gone wrong, the blessings would outweigh all of the bad stuff. My oldest son would always tell me, he said, Dad, if I can just win more than I lose, I'm okay. And he's right. And if people would understand that, hey, life is just like a yo-yo. It's up and down. But you got to accept those downs as you accept those ups and cherish those ups.
Thank you for those words of wisdom. They're so true. Just one more thing. Would you name one of the most rewarding instances in your career? Because you have a lot. It's extensive. I truly agree.
I would say I went to Fort Worth. And the guy named was Charles Charleston. He was retiring. And when he was in high school, he didn't have enough money to buy a yearbook. So what I did, I took that yearbook and took pictures out of it and made a video. And as I spoke, I talked about Charles Charleston and what he had done in high school. Not a hell of a kid, but he just wouldn't give up. He just kept working and kept working and kept working until he made something out of himself. And I thought that was very rewarding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've definitely been instrumental in a lot of people's lives. So we just want to thank you for your contributions. And before I do that, you also have a show that you do with all your athletes, and you have a banquet. Would you
Banquet.
elaborate on that for us,
Yeah,
please?
okay. When I was inducted in 2004, there was a young man that was over the PPILCA, Prairie Interscholastic League Coaches Association, and he was sick, and they needed someone to take over. So they elected me to be board chairman of the PPILCA. I knew that at that time, everybody was getting old, so people were dying. Their philosophy at that time was to recognize the head coaches. But when we took over, we started recognizing everybody that participated in sports along with the head coaches. We found out that most of the head coaches that were back then were deceased. So we had to recognize them as posthumously.
Oh.
And we started out, we had 45 to 75 at the first banquet. Second banquet, we had 300.
Oh.
Fourth banquet, 600. There was a need in the Black community for us to be recognized. And we got as high as 1,400 people at the Hilton Americas about 4 years ago. And we had memorabilia from one end of the hotel all the way to the other end of the hotel. And I thought that was real good. And people, if you just could see the expressions on old folks getting plaques and getting a program book, that mean a lot to them.
Yes.
Now, 2020, we couldn't have it.
Right.
But what we did, we made up a book. Everybody sent in that picture and bio. We made up a program book. Along with that program book, we gave everybody a plaque stating that they have been inducted. So even though it wasn't a banquet, everybody got inducted that year.
Wow.
And we're looking forward to next year. It'll be here in Houston. And one of the owners of the hotel said, even if we have to sit outside in a tent and be 6 feet apart from each other, we're going to have this banquet this year. And that's what we're looking forward to. We might not have 1,300, but we'll have a banquet before everybody becomes deceased.
Wow, that's remarkable. Thank you, Mr. Lane.
And if you look at our website, P as in Paul, V as in Victory, ILCA.org, you can see some of the things that we have done. We give 4 scholarships a year. Don't ask me how we do it, but we managed to save $1,000 for each person. That's $4,000. With the help of University of Texas, they have allotted a grant for us, and that has helped us to do what we're supposed to do in our community. And a lot of people don't realize it, but Prairie was the hub for all Blacks during the segregation.
Wow. Definitely. That's good information, Miss Elaine.
I didn't realize all what a coach did until I met you and your wife and Coach Austin.
Wow.
That you're not just a coach, you're a father, you are a mentor, you're there for the children as a whole while they're under your umbrella, and even probably beyond that. And I thought that was just a big thing. I was just telling your wife about how I went to Coach Yake's funeral, and there was nothing but coaches.
That's all.
Coaches there. They had Ralph Cooper telling people, stand up, this person, stand up, that person. I'm sitting around, oh no. And I'm videoing it because I'm saying, oh, you know, a history person anyway, so I got to video all this. Mm. And to get out in the parking lot, and I met with he and his wife to find out his son was a coach. Mm. So he inspired his son to be a coach. Mr. Yake's son was a coach.
That's right.
And the idea that sometimes you have a missing parent that's not giving all that to a student or that athlete that they need to have. And you've got a father at school. Mm. And that is with a child the rest of their life because they have a mentor in that coach.
I'm not a saint. I made some mistakes. I got a young man that calls me once a month. He said, Coach Brown, if it wasn't for that paddle, I wouldn't be here now. He said, do you remember? I said, yes, I remember. I said, I can't recall your name, but I know what happened, that incident. He said, you saved my life. Mm. He said, I was selling dope, doing all the wrong things, and you came in that bathroom with that towel. He said, that's the worst behind whooping I had in my life.
But he needed it.
He needed it.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, we want to thank you for your contribution to the education system, to the children, to the community. We value all that you do. This is from Black Heritage Society, Martin Luther King Parade Foundation.
All right. Thank you.
This is your certificate for Unsung Hero for being on our platform. We thank you.
Thank you.
From the board.
All right. And it's very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you for your history. Thank you for sharing.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.
Now with the pandemic, we do like this now, huh?